So today I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw that the homegirl Drazy had posted about this article that was on the New York Times. Article will be linked in the show notes for you guys to peep it out. But some of the things that it mentions was El Museo del Barrio, which is basically a Manhattan museum, focuses on Latin American / Puerto Rican kind of art, had a Dia de los Muertos art exhibit that was basically censored. The two artists that created this art installation basically saw something relevant in the current climate politically that reinforced their idea, which I may be misquoting, but I think it was Recuerdos y Unificación, memories and unification. And so they saw the relevance of adding a Palestinian flag to their Dia de los Muertos art exhibit. And it was censored basically. They weren't allowed, they took it down. They didn't want no one to see it. And people are surprised that a museum would censor art. I'm personally not surprised that the museum censors art. A museum has funding. And a lot of times it's either going to be from the government, who wants to maintain a status quo, who kind of has their own agenda to be pushed forward. So art that really is critical of these, institutions, these establishments, is like you don't bite the hand that feeds you. Same thing with the funders on the other side, which are kind of like free market people, right? So someone like me, have I donated to museums before? Yes, I have. But have I ever done it on the scale as some of the multimillionaires / multi-billionaires that donate to these museums? I haven't. So how would a museum getting funded by Fox allow someone like me to make an art installation called Fuck Rupert Murdoch? The likeliness is not high. And I also feel that there's a way of creating perception for the average person, right? Like they tell you to value the art that you'll see in a museum, even though that art is highly curated, highly censored to kind of fit within these margins. And as the homegirl Drazy said, and to exclude anyone that colors outside of the margins. And then you have all this fringe art that won't be in a museum till 20, 30 years after it's been on the fringes. Meaning that like fringe art will never be adopted in that moment, because a lot of times the most revolutionary ideas come from fringe artists. It's only until after the revolution where that becomes no longer radical thinking, but just the way life is, that it'll be adopted in the museums. It'll be given its, due credit in that moment. A museum will self-censor if they think that the topic is too risky for them, right? Or the artist is too aggressive in their approach. And they'll also censor because of the funding. Once again, they don't want to lose government funding. They also don't want to lose their funding from the private sector, right? They want all that money because guess what? They can only function if they attain money. But that's the important, more critical portion of it, right? A lot of times art isn't allowed to be free, because if art is dependent upon money to be made, then that art is fucked. And there's a reason why they want to legitimize art that has funding versus delegitimize underground subversive art. There's a reason why YouTube videos and YouTube creators aren't revered as much as filmmakers, right? Or people who are in cinema. It's the exact same thing. We make moving pictures and we tell a story, but they're not valued the same. Why? Because any person can pick up a camera and make a YouTube video. But this thing over here, only if you play your cards right and you don't disrupt anything, then they'll give you a bunch of money to go make a movie. And it's the same thing with the museum. If you color within the lines, like the homegirl Drazy said, if you color within the lines, you're good to go. We can have you here. We can promote you. We can really make you this artist that we all adopt and we all respect and we all appreciate. But if you don't tell us what we want to hear, then you're out, bro. You don't get no money. And that's what makes me think of something like a Real Big Fish song.
You're gonna go to the record store. You're gonna give them all your money. Radio plays what they want you to hear.
I love that song. But it's the truth that like, if you depend upon art as a way of making a living and nothing else, you put yourself in a very compromising situation, because then you're beholden to the dollar. I think of all the YouTube creators that I see doing compromising shit. The whole world's burning down, and what are they trying to do?
Why don't you let me fix you some of this new Mococo drink? All natural cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mount Nicaragua, no artificial sweeteners.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking?
It's relevant, right, that video, because it's this idea that like as the world's burning down, I hardly ever hear any of my favorite creators talking about the world burning down. And that's one of the things that really propelled me to start making YouTube videos again, because I'm like, bro, do they not realize what's going on in the world? And they do, but they're dependent upon the money they make from their videos. So they're like, let me just tell you what I can to keep my paycheck showing up. And that's when art becomes very compromised. I don't want to compromise you guys. This is just something that I saw, and I just, these are the thoughts that it brought to my mind, and I want to talk about and share it with you guys, and I did in a very uncensored way. And that's what makes my art less compromised. It makes it more so that I can create how I want to create and what I want to create and the way I want to create it. And that kind of freedom and liberty is kind of what I'm after. And other people that tell you that they have altruistic reasons as to why they promote art, they don't. They weaponize art just like they weaponize anything, and they do it through money. They tell you what is the narrative, what is legitimate, what is illegitimate, what has substance, what is something you can throw away, regardless of who made it or what, when, where, right? That's why it's important for us to make our own art, tell our own stories, create our own characters that empower us to build the world that we want to build. Alright, you guys, thanks so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Lates.